everyone, today I am going to do a review mashup video of two books I've recently read. I'm going to be reviewing Empty by K.M. Walton and The Perfect Ruin by Lauren DeStefano. And I'm going to start off by reviewing The Perfect Ruin by Lauren DeStefano. First off, on Goodreads, I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. I have very few complaints about the book. I don't think any book's perfect, so there's always going to be flaws in a book that you read. So, you know, I will give my honest opinion. But I think a lot of different people will like this book. It has something that's a little different, which makes it, you know, very fun to read. And so I'll start by giving you a synopsis. The book takes place on a city called Interment. And Interment is a city in the sky. Essentially, you know, these people were born into the world and the god of the earth wanted to destroy them, but the god of the sky thought that was a waste of human intelligence, and he, you know, picked up where they were living on earth and chunked it in the sky. So they basically live on this huge rock on the sky, and the god basically surrounded the city with an atmosphere that way they can survive at the high altitude. Okay, so the story follows a girl named Morgan. And Morgan is not your typical teenage girl. She has very much different, she thinks very differently from a lot of the citizens in her town. And she dreams of going to the edge. The edge is forbidden. They're not allowed to touch it, cross that side of the railroad tracks, or anything. And she dreams of the edge. She doesn't know why, but she dreams of the edge and the ground and what's, you know, basically what's outside of her reach. And she never has really wanted to go over the edge, but it's something she dreams of. She dreams of the ground. And the thing is she realizes at the beginning of the book that she lives on Interment, a great city, a city where you can be anything you want to be. The city is very supportive of that, and she's deterred from the edge because her brother Lex is known as a group of people known as Jumper, and these are people who have jumped off the edge. And he was left blind by this experience. And because he was left blind, you know, her family very much went through a grieving process, you know, both her dad and her mother and, you know, Lex's wife Alice. And so basically this follows her story of, you know, learning that Interment isn't as perfect as it seems, and nothing is quite as people tell it. And so in a way sometimes you have to discover for yourself versus, you know, just learning what you read. I do love, there is a romance in there, and the romance is between her and her betrothed. Her betrothed is basically, at birth they're paired with somebody who's in their same birth month to be their husband. So they don't, you know, actually date or anything like that. They are paired for life at birth. And she starts getting intimate with him for the first time, and I absolutely loved reading about, you know, how much he really cares for her, and I really love the romance, and I am definitely excited to see the second installment of The Perfect Ruin because the book left off on such a big cliffhanger. So if you haven't read it, I highly recommend you read it, and let me know how you think. The next book I read was Empty by K.M. Walton, and I will start out by saying I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. I didn't think it was perfect, but it was really, really good, and it was a great story that really drew you in emotionally. I really think anybody from really probably 7th grade on up should read this book. It does hit some pretty big social issues, so if your parents are, you know, very against you reading books that have things like alcohol drinking, bullying, mentions of sex, I would definitely ask them before you read it. It doesn't The sex scene isn't very graphic, and it doesn't glorify sex before marriage. It really actually, I think in a way, explains the consequences of having sex before marriage, even if you don't get pregnant. I read Empty for free on Pulse.com. Every week on Pulse.com there is a free novel you can read from Simon Pulse, which is Simon & Schuster's teen division of their publishing house. And they put this book online as their anti-bullying campaign for the anti-bullying week. And I will start breaking the premise of the story. The story follows a girl named Dell. And Dell, when we first meet her, is really struggling with the divorce of her parents. And the way her mom's dealing with it, the way her dad's dealing with it, and the way, you know, she's dealing with it. And the way she deals with it is she eats her emotions. And this is something that I particularly actually, this is an issue that I relate with Dell on. I am somebody who eats my emotions. It's something I've been working on here recently, but it is something I do to cope. And a lot of people do this to cope, where they don't eat when they're emotional or something, you know, to that extent. And really her world is falling apart. And the first few chapters of the book, this is, you know, not spoilers, this happens. She was great at softball. She had natural talent in softball, and, you know, this is something her and her dad had in common. It, you know, allows her to feel close to her dad, and she gets kicked off the softball team for being essentially too fat and out of shape. So, you know, dreams of college scholarships and everything is out the window. She takes care of her sister Maggie, who I believe is probably 1 or 2 years old. She can crawl and talk, but she can't really walk. And she takes care of her baby sister really more than her mother does. Her mother is addicted to prescription pills, and her father really doesn't talk to Dell anymore. Her father is moving on and is dating a girl who Dell absolutely hates. Dell's one and only friend is Kara. And Kara desires to really, her greatest desire in life is to fit in with the popular crowd. And Dell and Kara get invited to go to a party, which is when everything, and, you know, starts crashing. If things weren't already crashing down on Dell's life, well, now they're really crashing down. So at this party, Dell's with, you know, everybody who makes fun of her because she's fat, and she's at the party is her crush since middle school, the most popular boy in the school, who is dating the head of the popular clique, who just happens to be very, very mean. I'm trying to keep this PG language. And he starts to take interest in her. He's always kind of loved that she makes fun of herself because she's fat, and he really thinks that's funny, but he doesn't realize that she's really masking her emotions. She makes fun of herself because she's fat, so people are laughing with her and not at her, and nobody really realizes that she's hurt by this. And from this point on in the story, I'm not going to give any spoilers, but she basically really, her life is spiraling out of control, and she's trying to fix it. She doesn't feel loved. She really is trying to figure out what her purpose in life is. The ending of the book was extremely sad. I very much cried, but I think it needed to end that way to drive the message the author's bringing home, that even if we don't see it on the outside to somebody, that even a simple kind word, or, you know, just a smile can really make a difference in somebody's life. And also that just because somebody's laughing and smiling on the outside doesn't mean they feel happy on the inside. So I really think that this takes a lot of hard-hitting issues that plague today's society, and especially and really our age group and the age group, you know, younger and a little bit older than us, probably age range 12 to 30, I really think that everybody should read it because it deals with the hard-hitting issues and it presents them in such a way that you can determine how you feel about the issues. The author's not telling you how to feel about the issues. She's just presenting the story in such a way that you feel the emotions that the main character Dell feels. You feel what it's like when people are bullying you and, you know, feeling unloved and dealing with things that a lot of kids our age deal with, but we might not necessarily deal with it. We might be fortunate enough to have a perfect life and not have to deal with such issues, and this book allows you to kind of see the other side of the fence. I really enjoyed it. Some of the issues in the book I've either experienced personally or I've dealt with the consequences and the outcomes of close family, friends, and relatives. So I highly recommend you read the book. I will put links to both Perfect Room by Lauren De Stefano and Empty by Cam Walton below, and I will also link the Simon & Schuster Pulsit.com website. That way if you want to read the book they have this week, which expires February 4th, then you can read it. And yeah, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your week, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.